What's going on, everybody? It's your boy E-Man the Chosen here, and I'm back today with another video. So today we're going to be talking about the current state of ESO and also the future of ESO as far as the direction it's headed. The first elephant in the room that I want to talk about that I've seen, a lot of comments on, and I've seen this all across YouTube, is ESO dying? And my opinion to this question is not quite. You have to understand, outside of ESO PvP and outside of ESO PvE, there's always going to be a big community of players who like to role play, who just like to play with their friends, who get on the game, who just hang out with their friends. And those people who spend a lot of money on houses, a lot of money on like cosmetic things such as mounts and different like weapon styles, motifs, and like those people aren't going anywhere. Though they're not really concerned about the balance of the game. They're not really concerned about certain new content. As long as they have some new houses in the store, the crown store, they're gonna be happy campers. And I feel like there are always gonna be a community of people who just do that. So I don't necessarily think ESO is dying as a whole, but when it comes to ESO's PvP in specific, I definitely feel like there's a lot less people playing. And I only speak from PCNA. I can't speak for any other platforms. Maybe if you guys know how it is on other platforms, you can kind of let me know. But just speaking from my experience, I'm a veteran player. I play this game about 5 to 6 days a week. I play it for multiple hours at a time, and I'll tell you guys what I've noticed about the PvP population from my perspective. So I like to play Blackreach a lot when it comes to PvP, and one thing I've noticed, like before the Vengeance test, was that Blackreach rarely ever got anybody in there. There's rarely ever any bars in there. There's maybe one bar every now and then, maybe 2 bars max, but I rarely ever see it get to 3 bars anymore. And a lot recently, I've literally had to go to Grey Host in order to even find like any kind of fights. It's been actually kind of crazy. And even Grey Host, especially like later on in the night, it just starts to die out too. There's really nobody playing PvP. And then now we have Vengeance, and the first few tests, so this is the 3rd test of Vengeance. Now the first test of Vengeance, like, oh yeah, it was busy, it was popping, there was always some bars in there. And then I noticed like the 2nd test of Vengeance, there was bars, but it was a lot less. But now this 3rd test, man, like I've rarely ever see it get to 3 bars. So it's like time and time again, like you definitely notice like this is not what people want. And I think the biggest reason for people just not playing anymore is just because there's a disconnect. Like, there's a disconnect between ESO's PvP's in-game community and the devs. Like the devs are pretty much known for kind of catering to more of that casual play style. Like maybe somebody can only play this game maybe 2 hours, a day, or maybe like 1 or 2 days out the week. Maybe they're just coming in casually just to play the game. Compared to that ESO sweat who plays this game 7 days a week, who have literally min-maxed their build and are able to take a full-on comped group of players literally by themselves with no sweat. And I think Zos more caters to the person who, maybe they're a new player to the game, and they don't want them having that uninviting experience of being on the other end of a 1vxer. Like, you're putting your ult into them, you're putting all the damage into them, and it seems like they just brush off all your damage and turn around and one-shot you in the middle of the group that you're in. Sometimes it can be a very uninviting experience, and I get that, but at the same time, like, these same players are going to be the players that help teach the new players. There's not really a lot of in-game tutorials when it comes to like more of the nuanced PvP. Like, they teach you how to siege. That's really about it. They don't really teach you like, okay, when do I block, when do I roll dodge, like when do I, like, how do I keep my buffs up, like what are the best sets, like what are, how should I set my gear up. A lot of people have to like search online, they have to watch a build video, they have to watch a streamer, like stuff like that in order to learn. Like how are you ignoring your in-game community when these are the same people who are responsible for teaching the new players how to play and stuff like that? It just doesn't make sense to me. I think another part of the disconnect is that they just don't play their game. Like, we literally watched a few months ago when they did the BG live stream event, like the leading combat director like literally did not know how to heavy attack. He didn't understand the nuances behind like the metas and like what to run as far as like to how to be optimal and stuff like that. Like we literally watched that like live. And it was kind of crazy. They even had to take the stream down because it got so much backlash. They even had the audacity to respond with, "Oh, we don't expect our leading combat dev to be the guy of the game." I don't think anyone expected the leading combat dev to be a guy of the game, but to at least understand some of the basic nuances behind PvP. Like, you're the person responsible for making some of the biggest balance changes, so like you should at least understand that, right? But what do I know? I think another reason for the big disconnect and the lack of people playing is just they are doing things that people just don't want. You know, like majority of people don't want. Now, don't get me wrong, like me personally, I'll give you guys my opinion on Vengeance. I do like it. It is fun, like for a minute, but there is no way to like keep me playing it or anything like that. Like it's fun for a little bit, but after a while, it pretty much gets boring. And then you start to realize that, you know, Vengeance, it's all about numbers. You know, and you know, if you don't have a big enough group, if you don't have a big enough Zerg, then you pretty much can't do anything, you know. And you really, like, you know, I mean, it's kind of already like that in regular PvP, but it really starts to show itself in Vengeance. And, you know, especially if you're not on a Sork, if you're not on a Nightblade, and you get outnumbered by more than, you know, 3 or 4 people, it's pretty rough. I mean, you do have some people who like it, you know, it's lag free, like you're not relying on broken proc sets, not abusing the crazy meta. But at the same time, like, I mean, the combat to me is just boring. Like, there's no quick kills. Like every kill is going to take you at least a minute or even 2 minutes. Compared to Cyrodiil, you can get a kill within seconds, you know, if you line up a combo right. And then it kind of just brings me back to my point of like what the devs and what Exhaust actually wants PvP to be, which what they said on their live stream is that they want PvP to be like Zerg versus Zerg versus Zerg. Like, you know, I think one of the things about PvP that, you know, it is mistakenly one of the most funnest things about PvP is the ability to 1vx or handle a lot of people, or, you know, just play outnumbered, for instance, right? I mean, the way this game is set up, like where you can go open world Cyrodiil and you have a choice to go wherever you want, you know, the odds aren't always even. Like, you know, when you get on, whether it's early in the morning, late at night, you know, you can't always count on your whole faction to be on. So it's fun sometimes to just log into the least populated faction and try to win fights while you're outnumbered. Like, for some people, that just feels very rewarding and it's incentive. Like, whether it's 1vxing, whether it's bombing, maybe it's you and your friend in a small group, you guys are Xing the Zerg, stuff like that. And like, you know, maybe it's 2 guys taking down a whole Zerg of people, or hell, even 1 guy taking down a whole Zerg of people. And I think that the thing is, like, that was never supposed to be a thing. Like, you were never supposed to be able to be one person and take down multiple people, but, you know, mistakenly, you know, it's one of the most funnest things about ESO, at least in my opinion. Now, my final verdict about Vengeance, I definitely think it's fun, but like the way they're making it seem, because originally Vengeance was supposed to be a performance test, which that's kind of how they introduced it as, like, oh, we're just going to take away a few things to see like what's affecting performance, which, you know, it's nice that they're actively trying to fix performance, which that's what it looked like at first. But like now that they've added the perk system with this new Vengeance test, it looks like that's the way that they're trying to go in the direction of PvP, and I'm not really behind that. Like, I wouldn't mind Vengeance being like a side campaign, like maybe if they could take away like the below 50 campaign and just add Vengeance in there. Like, hey, I'd be a happy camper. I'd probably go play it every now and then. But, you know, but if this is the route they're trying to go with, you know, ESO PvP's future, I just don't think that's it, man. Just don't think it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments as far as what you guys think they should do. Another thing I want to touch on, man, is just, you know, there's 200 sets in this game, and, you know, there's so many sets that are just like useless in both PvE and PvP. It's like, why not, like, you know, focus on some of the older sets, like maybe, you know, buff some of the older sets that no one uses. Like, look at the data, because right now there's only like a few sets that are actually meta, and, you know, that's kind of like what kind of happened in PvP. While that's another reason a lot of people stop playing, because the meta is just very stale. Also, with the skill lines, some of the skill lines are a little bit overtuned, and there are, you know, pretty much if you don't have you know, one of these 4 skill lines, then you're pretty much fighting at a disadvantage. And you know, a lot of people there's a lot of cool skill lines in here that people want to use, and you know, no one likes to feel at a disadvantage while, you know, playing with, you know, these dead skill lines, you know, and stuff like that. So definitely something they can do with subclassing. And then also with just content and wise, right? Like, you know, one of the things that I really like, I think one of the best PvP updates was actually IC, you know. And you know, right now IC is pretty much for the most part dead, right? But the thing about it is, man, it's about incentive. Like, there's really no incentive to really PvP right now. Like, you know, like that's the reason why mid-year mayhem is always a very, very big, you know, event, or very, very populated event, because people have incentive to actually come to PvP, you know. And I think they should do something, you know, with the incentive and give people a reason to play PvP. Like right now, you literally get nothing for getting 5 stars in PvP. So like, why would anybody play it, like, unless you just like the combat, you know? Like, people like rewards, so they'll play anything for a good reward. So give people incentive, like give them a mount, give them a cool skin for, you know, getting to this certain rank. And the Seals of Endeavor idea, like, it takes forever, like literally takes months to get like anything. Like, why not take some of that and put it into PvP, you know, into the PvP ranks, stuff like that, you know, give people incentive to come and play, you know. And maybe, like, you know, it'd be cool if we got like another version of IC, or maybe even like a, you know, we were talking about this in the live stream, maybe like a free-for-all mode. Like, there's so, like, ESO is a game with so much potential, and it's just really sad that, you know, a lot of the devs failed to see like how much of a potential, you know, this game has. You know, a lot of people play this game regardless, even with the bad performance, because there's no other, you know, combat MMO that's quite like ESO, you know. And you know, it's such a good game. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was the BGs, like, you know, the whole AV8. Like, I mean, the AV8 is cool sometimes, but a lot of times it just ends up in a steamroll fest where one team is getting like literally spawn camped, while the other team is just like, you know, like bulldozing over them. I kind of like the old BGs, like the 4v4v4. Wish they would bring that back, because, you know, at least if one team was like bulldozing everybody else, like the 2 other teams could kind of like team together and kind of like, you know, kind of like even the playing field. I feel like it was a lot more balanced. But now I will say that they are, you know, doing the surveys, that they're trying to get feedback, which they said this is something they've never tried. They're trying for the first time. So I would 100% encourage everyone to go fill out these surveys, give them the feedback for what you guys want to see. A lot of us still love this game, and, you know, we want nothing but the best. We want to see this game win, and some of us still see the, you know, unlimited potential this MMO has to be the best. But at the end of the day, you know, we do have to band together as a community, and they do need to listen to us. So, but anyways, make sure you guys leave a comment on, you know, what you guys think, and, you know, the future about ESO, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for the video. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.